My name's Ashley Bailey, and I'm a guidance counselor, university counselor, and career studies teacher. I found this curriculum when I was trying to figure out what we could do for our kids in such a strange situation after the pandemic lockdowns and hybrid learning. I was thinking about what could we do to get these kids to think about each other, to process through what's happened the past year and a half, and to move forward with purpose and intention to help bring the community together. And I came across this empathy curriculum. I've been reading a lot about how to help students to develop empathy, and this curriculum just seemed perfect. We're training all the grade 9 teachers. We have Kate Berardi, who's a PhD at Penn State, and she is supporting this curriculum and this program at Penn State. She's going to come and train all of our teachers in the context and content of the curriculum. And we are supporting the curriculum through the advisory program. So the students see their advisors 20 minutes 3 times a week, so for a total of an hour. And each module in the empathy curriculum is about an hour long, split into parts. So it kind of fits perfectly with that model. I'm also going to be running the Activating Empathy program in my career studies class.
Hi, I'm Stephen Alves, and I teach math and physics, mostly to grade 11 and 12 students.
Hi, my name is Fernanda Sabul, and I'm a teacher at TMS. I teach in the DP program, and I'm also the outreach coordinator.
I'm Allison Dixon, and I am a grade 9 advisor and teacher at the Toronto Montessori School.
My name is Samantha Frost. I teach science and math, grade 7 right through to grade 12.
I think for us with grade 9 advisory, this is a wonderful age to instill even just a seed of empathy into these young people as they're trying to figure out who they are and who they want to be. So I think we have a really great opportunity to instill empathy and instill goodness and show them that it is something that you have to make an active choice on. That empathy is not something that just happens, it's something that you decide.
One of the worries we had as a result of the pandemic was that there might be a disconnect with our students, and we wanted to be proactive in helping them readjust and reintegrate together. And we thought, what better way to do that than to help them develop their empathy, which is exactly what they will need to understand each other and to understand themselves as they navigate this odd world and odd year.
So we started the curriculum in career studies, and they were very engaged in the conversation for defining empathy and watching the videos on what people think empathy is and thinking about ways that empathy works in society and what society would be like without empathy. That was really good.
You can almost see the gears and the wheels turning as they're thinking about their responses, and you know they're trying hard to put themselves in someone else's shoes. So just seeing that thought process occurring is really encouraging.
They found it really hard to identify real-world scenarios in their learning journals where empathy was taking place. So my reflection is that maybe they don't have that lens yet. Maybe they'll be better at that when they can see more context of empathy that we present to them. But right now it was hard for a lot of them to come up with 3 different times when in real life or fiction through the week they had seen empathy in action.
The most challenging thing I think has been keeping the kids engaged and keeping that buy-in. I don't think this is a reflection of the program, but more a reflection on where the kids are at this point in time. So when we meet with them, it's after period 1. So they come in and they're a little bit tired. It's still the morning. They've just had class. And they're not always feeling like work or thinking. And that combined with a lot of this is vulnerable work, and I'm not sure they want to be vulnerable or are ready to be vulnerable at that time in the morning or even at this time in their life.
They're not rejecting the curriculum, which I think as a first step is really important, that they're open to kind of where are we going with this? They're curious.
It's hard to teach empathy skills. It's hard to get them to take it fully seriously, but I think because they're so fun and they have great ideas and they are engaging in the content, even if they get a little bit stuck because they've never had to identify what is an empathetic response in their lives before. So we're just getting into it. We're just getting them to start to practice. And I think they're such great students that they want to be able to do well, and they're pausing to try to think, I've never had to actively turn empathy on before. I've never had to actively try to turn it off before. I think the hardest part is that people don't want to be the first one to participate. There was a lot of pushback actually at first. They don't want to do empathy. They definitely didn't want to do it for 45 minutes straight, but we did. And once they were in groups, they had really great ideas for different ways to show empathy and the pros and cons of each. And there was a really good discussion. So it was encouraging to see that even though I could tell that they were not in the mood to do an empathy lesson, and they hardly ever are, the conversation that came out of it and their investment in it was still really genuine, and a lot of good things came out of it.
Asking them to tap into emotions or be open to the emotions of others is very challenging for them. And for my group, it quickly leads to comedy and joking around as they are trying to best approach the subject of empathy and being aware of other people's feelings. And so I find with my group, they are at times silly and yet understanding of what we're doing.
I think the most encouraging is when I see them participate. Also to see that they have a good insight in some of the questions. When we ask them some of the questions, I'm like, wow, I'm like surprised of the answers. Yeah. Pleasantly surprised. Yeah.
I thought that the most exciting thing or encouraging thing about the empathy curriculum so far has been seeing newer students be introduced into our classroom community. So it seemed to be a great tool for our newer students to actually get involved.
Sometimes that I find a challenge when the students are not in the mood, right? Like it's 20 minutes, it's rushed, and we have to get it right away. When they come into the classroom, we're like trying to get everybody going, and then Allison and I are trying to figure out, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and we're trying to get it done. And I feel that the students sometimes they just want to chill. They just want to talk about different things. They just want to talk about different things, and I find that sometimes it's hard to get them going. Once I get going, it's fine. Yeah.
The biggest challenge is just getting over the attitude of it's a curriculum and advisory as opposed to perhaps like hanging out as more of a family environment, but it is something that's pen and paper that students feel like could be an additional course. That's probably the biggest challenge so far.
Somebody said to me close to the end of school today that we teach potential. And isn't that a great thought? We don't teach the people that we currently have in front of us right now. We teach the people that we hope the people who are in front of us are going to become. And so doesn't that fit perfectly into empathy? And so I'm encouraged again. It is discouraging to hear the dissenting thoughts in the classroom in front of me when I'm teaching it, but that is not who I'm really teaching, even though I like all those people who are actually in front of me in the classroom. But it's the people who they're going to become if they're impacted by this curriculum. And collective teacher efficacy, so the belief of teachers that they can impact students for the better, is so much more important than so many other things in the classroom. So I am glad that I'm encouraged and I think I can impact people, because obviously that's going to help. But I think I'm also going to lead with that with the grade 9 advisors, because I know that they're discouraged about it. And so I want to empower them, because they're all such amazing teachers and they can clearly impact students individually and collectively. And I want them to know that, so that when they go into the empathy curriculum, even if there's barriers, even if there's pushback, that they know they can make a difference. I hope it works. I'll let you know. So I am recording today, January 3rd, in the evening from home, because we just found out that we need to be online for 2 weeks after Christmas holidays. We really hoped that we wouldn't have to be online at all this year. My dog is here. Since last year and the year before, there were so many learning interruptions, but we do. So we've decided to pause the main empathy curriculum. We're pausing because for the most part, I think it really needs to be done in person if possible. And so we're going to wait until January 17th, which is when we find out whether we are going to continue online or whether we're going to be able to do learning in person. But it's kind of heartbreaking because, oh man, even 2 weeks is so hard for the students. So I finished Empathy 9 today with my second career studies class, and it went over pretty well. In my first career studies class, only one person said they didn't want to be learning it. And in my second career studies class, they cheered when we said we were doing empathy. So that's different. And even if it was facetious, still fun for the energy of the class. So that one went really well.
So when I asked my group to write letters to their grandchildren or future grandchildren, sort of apologizing or justifying the world that their grandchildren might live in if we completely neglect our efforts to climate change, there was a collective groan among the group. Nobody was interested. It could have been because we were approaching March break and the thought of doing more work or any work at that point was not appealing. So I finally, through some pestering, got them to write these letters. So the next day when they came in, I was shocked at the letters that they had written. I myself am an emotional person, but rarely do I get emotional at letters that 14-year-olds have written, and some of what these kids were writing really pulled on my heartstrings. They surprised me, not just in what they were saying, but why they were putting some of these things down on paper. And as we're reading the letters, one student in particular made a comment that sparked a bit of a discussion. And the comment was, these letters are great and fine and dandy, but what's the point if all we're doing is putting words on paper? Shouldn't we be acting? Shouldn't we be doing something about this? And I think we're getting there.
So today's activity was a reflection on the letter writing to your grandchild in the year 2070. And I was disappointed because of the 14, only 3 did it. One did a masterful job. He shared what he wrote and he really understood the experience. As great as that one student was, one person's strong empathy, for me, doesn't feel like it compensates for everybody else's lack of empathy. Although it was inspiring to hear what he said. So hopefully that, again, the planting of empathetic seeds that those students can reflect on and grow on as they get older, as they get past this apathetic teenage phase of their life. But it still leaves me feeling unsatisfied.
I wanted to talk about the second half of my grade 10s and how, even though sometimes they're a little bit of a rowdier group with empathy, and I wasn't sure how I was going to go with the goal setting, they, for the most part, took it really seriously, and they did set some really excellent goals. There was a couple who didn't even do the sheet, but for the most part they did, and they were really thoughtful, and they thought about the steps that they would take and how they would measure their empathy goals, and it went really well. So that was positive. So on Friday, we had the Empathy 11 debrief with the teachers. We got some footage from it. I thought it was really interesting how I perceived how the events were going versus how they perceived how the events were going. Because I thought it was wildly successful and that they were all getting something from it, and that they, you know, some of them had changed and moved towards the activity. But I think from the facilitator perspective, it wasn't as successful as they'd hoped. They wanted to see something different than they saw. So I thought that was really interesting, just the different way that we perceived it, because I thought it was wonderful.
At the end of the day, I really feel like the whole curriculum has not suited the high end or the low end, but the middle 60%. The top 20%, they understand empathy. They're just going through the motions. They get this. The bottom 20%, no matter how much curriculum we feed them, I don't think they'll ever grasp it at this age and stage, maybe later. But it's the middle 60% who are open-minded and willing to try, and they've picked up something.
The comment that Stephen made about how we're really doing it for the middle 60%, not the 20% who just probably will disengage, not the 20% who already got it and are just flying, but the 60% in the middle where they need some coaching, they need role models, they need people to push them a little bit to engage in this stuff and do the work, and then they improve. So that I thought I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of that 60% doing really well in the grade 9s, and that was really encouraging.
I see the empathy program or the empathy curriculum as really foundational to a lot of what we're trying to get students to do in the later MYP years and especially in the diploma program. I hope that what they're learning there is the ability to understand the perspectives and experiences of other people outside of themselves, and what it is that they really care about, so that they know where they can make a difference and make things better for other people as well as themselves.
They're going to be researching an empathy role model, somebody they want to emulate or their characteristics who they want to emulate, and they're going to make a poster about it and present it to their peers. Who's on your poster?
I'm doing one of my friends. They're always aware when something is wrong. They're always willing to listen and talk about it.
Tell me why you're doing Christopher.
Well, he listens to other people's concerns. He just listens in general. Mm-hmm. He also, I think he put himself in other people's shoes.
How do you feel that more than one person is doing you as their poster?
What?
Do you feel like you're empathetic?
Yeah, but not that empathetic.
What do you think about people doing each other in the class and somebody choosing you?
Oh, I didn't know anyone had chosen me, but I love it that they're choosing each other. I think they know each other well and they spend a lot of time, so it's really encouraging to see that they see these qualities and these role models in the people that they are with every day.
I'll read the last part. But if I can save you now, here, I will. You deserve a better life than the last few seconds on Earth. It isn't fair that every generation before got to live full lives, passing down failed responsibilities down the elevator shaft until we reach the ground floor.
So in our peer review, we're put together with people who were intended to know as little as possible, and we're supposed to functionally gather a bunch of information on them through interviewing and discussion and examination of their work and whatnot to try to come up with some way to provide a video review format. the intent is to build empathy through essentially forcing you to be able to understand what's going on in their life and in their shoes. What are their strengths and weaknesses? What do they feel are their big challenges and their big successes? And by that, just getting to know them better, and that sort of mutual knowledge is kind of the basis of the empathy.
This peer review experience really got me to like be able to like expand my circles, and not only like help me like I guess improve my social like capabilities, but it'll also help me like learn a lot about like how many similarities I could have with someone who's like who I just like never talked to. And I think like it's given me a more open mind to like approach new people and welcome new people into my life.
This peer review assessment gave me an awesome opportunity of like knowing more people and like make the introverted me to like understand the school a lot more. It's just awesome to like understand like how my personality like can actually be explored upon. Just a great opportunity in general.
I didn't realize like how much I use empathy like on a day-to-day basis before. Because before I kind of thought it was like specifically when you like take the time to put yourself in another person's shoes and that's it. But now I'm noticing that like any sort of like collaboration, typically empathy comes into play.
The word empathy has integrated itself into most people's vocabulary, and they've become aware that, oh, this is empathy, this is not empathy. It's slowly becoming a part of the grade 9.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like at the beginning of the year, everyone was like, yeah, we know empathy. But now if you say empathy, I mean, I have an understanding, I think you do too, and most people, where empathy is like how it's not sympathy, it's different. You have to feel for them and you have to like connect with them with your own emotions kind of feeling. You know, I feel like we have more of an understanding about it than the beginning of the year.
I'm filming this a year after the empathy program has ended. And I want to talk about some of the effects that we've noticed through the kids who actually did go through the empathy program. So we did it in 2 grades, grade 9 and grade 10, and there were some individuals who have definitely been impacted by the empathy program and have taken those skills with them through this following year. One thing I noticed through the program is that it seems difficult as a teacher when you're doing it. So I think that teachers who are going to put it into practice though do need support. One of the reasons it was successful was that we were meeting weekly with the teachers who were performing the program to check in to see how they were feeling, because as an educator you're not sure if it's working until it's done. And so that would be really important as a recommendation for how to fulfill this program. But the encouraging thing about this year is that we can see that in the grade 9s going into grade 10 and the grade 10s going into grade 11, where they really invested in the empathy program, that they've maintained those skills and continue to grow. I definitely think that even though this program seems hard when you're going through it and the students do push back and the skills are skills that you wouldn't normally teach in a classroom, I think that it's really worthwhile to have this curriculum in every grade, in every school. And it was definitely worthwhile in our school, and I'd like it to continue. Overall, I do think it's definitely a program we should all do, and that's really worthwhile because you can see the students and the effects on the students a year later after the program's done.